Good evening, everyone, at 6 p.m. And we're at the Elkhorn Area School Board meeting, Monday, February 24th, and we're in the Susan Tully Legislative Boardroom, 1887 building. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In order, roll call, please.
Mr. Andre.
Here.
Mr. Gayheart.
Here.
Andrew Gordon.
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll is excused, as well as Mrs. Kostak. Mrs. Reckles.
Here.
Mr. Scarrow.
Here.
Ms. Corpus.
Here.
Mr. Jaime Sarabia.
Here. All right, our first item is community participation. I have one person, Devin Gatton. Come up. And you know the procedures, so.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Get started.
To start off with, thank you and for Adam and Kathy for doing your guys' sit down this weekend. There wasn't a lot of participation. I certainly hope that with as such of a big issue as this referendum is going to be, both now and in 4 years from now, that more people will start to attend these to make sure that they're getting the correct information and making sure that they're able to make decisions based off of that correct information. Whether or not you're for it or against it, you really should be getting out there and meeting with the school board to make sure that they're taking times out of their day to be able to come out there and come visit with the community. So I really hope that more people take advantage of coming out there to come speak with you guys going through this entire process. That being said, I would like to say that, I am hoping that no matter what the outcome is in April with the referendum, that we're already looking now to figure out what we can do to be able to alleviate some of the financial burden that's currently going on. We do have, no matter how things go, we got in 4 years, it's going to be the exact same situation. In fact, it may very well be in a worse situation than we are now, where we're gonna be back to this level of spending, and we've had 4 years worth of growth that we have on top of it that we had to go through. So I really truly hope that right now we're going through and we're cutting where we can. We're able to go through and take a look at the pot of money that has been untouchable up until this point, which is personnel, and making sure that is being reduced. So in 4 years, we're not getting slammed again and having to go through 3 different referendums just to hope and pray that we're going to be able to get the money to be able to keep Elkhorn Area School District continuing to be moving. But other than that, I look forward to seeing you guys at the coffee meetings again, and I hope to see you guys on the community. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, Elkhorn Area Middle School student presentation.
Hello, Ryan McBurney, principal at Elkhorn Area Middle School and parent to an 8th grader. Before I introduce our group, I won't steal too much of their thunder. I just wanted to say that as both a principal and parents in the district, my favorite thing about us is that we just don't say no to opportunities for our kids. So I wanted to thank the board, Mr. Tadlow, and amazing advisors like Ms. Card for their support in that adventure. At this point in the year, the middle school has 88% of their students involved in at least one club or activity outside of school, really increasing their connection to school and improves attendance, grades, and all those things. So we're proud of that and really excited to hear about our STEM club, which we brought back this year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Clark.
Hello, we are members of the Elkhorn Area Middle School STEM Club, and we are excited to tell you about our journey and our club. One of the projects that we do is sublimation, and we do sublimation mugs. One thing that's good with that is Canva. It can be easier to use than some of the other softwares, and you get to design it however you want to make it.
STEM Club is the place where we explore science, technology, engineering, and math in creative and hands-on ways. We take ideas and turn them into real projects, learning new skills along the way. We also focus on digital fabrication using cutting edge technology to bring our ideas to life. From 3D printing to laser cutting to sublimation, we get to use tools that help us solve real world problems. We are very excited that soon we'll be moving into our new makerspace at EAMS. This dedicated area will allow us to expand our projects, collaborate on bigger ideas, teach fellow students and teachers as well as the community, and explore even more opportunities. Another project that we did was we made ornaments out of wood plate where you got to design it on Canva and then you got to use this laser cutter and it laser cutted an ornament where you either got to color it or you can leave it whatever you want.
That's the ornament right there, right?
What do we do in STEM Club? In STEM Club, we use different tools and materials to bring our ideas and interests into life. Some of our favorite projects have included sublimating mugs. We've designed mug wraps in Canva and presented them on the sublimation printer before heat process them into our mug processes. 3D printing. We have created dice, worked on models, creating small 3D items to fill our capsule machine. We are excited to meet and earn from the brains behind Makers Mashup, a YouTuber who has over 34,000 followers. He'll be coming to help us learn in March. Laser cutting. We have designed a laser cut ornaments and other items to give family and friends. We are excited to use these skills on our new X-Tool laser cutters in our makerspace, which will be more powerful and allow us to do many more things.
Why STEM Club matters. STEM Club matters because every project teaches us something new or allows us to expand our current skills. We are learning about design, problem solving, and how different technologies work. We also practice teamwork and creativity, which are very important for our futures. STEM Club is more than just making cool things. Although we do like that part, it helps us to develop real world skills that we can use in our future careers. We also get to see how STEM Club is used in industries and everyday life.
So thank you for having us. I'm very proud of them and they'll continue talking in a minute, but I just wanted to, you hear them continue to say like our new makerspace, our new makerspace, our new makerspace. So we do have a new makerspace. It'll have laser cutters, vacuum formers, 3D printers and so on, because we've gotten $50,000 worth of grants specifically for that space. So it's 100% funded through the grants, including the equipment as well as the supplies that are in it. And one of the grants that we got was through Project Lead the Way with the ARDA group. The other grant is a larger grant and we have to wait for the company to announce it, even though we already have the funds here in the district and have been able to do that. We will announce who gave us the rest of that money. They just want to be the first ones to make that announcement. So we'll be able to let you know that and let the public know that probably closer to April. Excellent. Another thing that we're doing and I'm working on as a teacher and as their advisor is I'm working with teachers around the nation to get micro certifications. So high school students always have the opportunity to do apprenticeships and do internships and that kind of thing and get different certifications. Our middle schoolers do not have that yet. So we're working through getting this from kindergarten all the way through high school. So working with Jenna Rand at the high school. And these are just what some of the badges would look like as they complete skills that are going to help them in the workforce in the future. So it's really going to help their careers as they go through. These will be digital badges. When you click, someone clicks on like their email signature or something like that, it'll show them all the skills that they had to do to be able to get that badge. And then we are collaborating with the high school. This is their cube. And like I said, I'm working with Jenna Rand. She is the other STEM Club advisor. And what we're trying to do is help bridge the gap between the middle school and the high school and give these guys skills that they can then continue into the high school and then continue into, like we talked about, apprenticeships, internships and things like that in local companies like potentially ARDA or many of the other partners that we have within the district. And with that, we're also trying to get the elementary side of things by starting Storybook STEM, where we're doing some of the things that you see here, but on a more prototype type of version. After school, every Tuesday, we rotate through the elementary schools and get them exposed to this. So when they come to the middle school, the skills you're seeing from these guys are very good for where they're at right now, only to get better. But as our elementary students come up into the middle school and then go into the high school, we'll see those skills increase and get them ready for the workforce or college or technical school or whatever they choose to do after high school.
The impact of STEM Club. Being a part of STEM Club gives us confidence to try new things and take on challenges. It gives us a safe space to create projects that fail, and we get to try again or tweak, make sure that it works. We did this when we created tops on a 3D printer. Many of ours failed at the first time, but we got to recreate, resize, and create new tops. We love learning through making, and we hope to inspire others to do the same. Thank you for the opportunity to share our experience, and we look forward to sharing more of our projects with you in the future, or having you come visit our new makerspace and do a project with us. Do you have any questions?
So when will the new space be available for us to come for a tour?
We actually, myself and another teacher just came in and started to set it up, so we'll let you know, I imagine within the next few weeks.
Okay.
I mean, we just unboxed all of the equipment that we ordered, you know, so we have some X tools, we have some 3D printers, like I said, vacuum formers. We're also, this will end up turning into STEAM, because we're also involving the art teacher. We can now laser screens for screen printing, and then she has the screen like printing part down in the art room. We're working with Tech Ed, so I mean, it's kind of an all around, and eventually hope to get all the other content areas like social studies, English, math in there and doing projects too, but we'll let you know when it's actually up and fully functional.
Nice. Any other comments?
Yeah, this is awesome. This is really awesome. Boring question for adults, kids, sorry. The grant, the second part of the grant, not saying who it is, but how much is that for? Can you share that or no?
So the first one was
50?
15,000 and the second one was 35 or 40. So 37,000.
Okay, so it's total of 50.
Total of, yeah. 50.
Okay, that's awesome. Trying to share more of how much grant dollars we get because of all the cool and awesome unique things that we do for the kids. What do you guys, are you guys, is this just cool for you guys? Do you have any plans on something career wise for this, or is this just a cool class that you get to make bluey mugs and? Well, it's fun. Because if I was you guys, I would just take it for fun because it's awesome, but I'm just curious if you guys have any career or anything like later on in life you might be targeting with this. Or just, it's okay.
Go like the science way, go the technology way, like start making technology and stuff.
Well, awesome. Good luck. This is
Okay.
really neat.
I have a question on the sublimation, just because it fascinates me, that whole process and the things you can do with it. Are they dishwasher safe mugs? They are. That's
They are,
amazing
yeah.
to me, that just that heat transfers the ink and then it adheres that well, right? Cool.
That's really neat.
I mean, cause you really just, it's like an inkjet printer, right? And
Yeah,
then
it gets
it-
printed with sublimation ink, like mirrored, and then what do we do next? Guys remember?
Heat it up and press it on.
Yep, we heat it
Yeah,
up,
like a
put it
heat
in a
gun
mug,
that you
we have
use?
mug presses.
Oh, okay.
That those get pressed in. We
Hmm.
did our flags in science, do one of you too, because you did them most recently, just want to
Yeah.
explain that project.
So for science class, we had to do a flag on a college that we wanted to attend to, because we had to pick a career path that we would be interested into. And I picked, University of Madison, so I did a flag about University of Madison.
I did the electronics engineer and it was basically, I did University of Madison, and I did at University of Utah.
And they designed it in Canva, like all the research that they did, and then we printed it on bigger sheets and then heat pressed that onto like a garden type flag that they could hang up. Those are hanging in the middle school in the gold pot right now, if anybody wants to come over and visit us.
In the STEM club, you meet, could you share when you meet, how often you meet?
We meet once every other week.
After school?
Yeah. Sure.
Every Thursday.
So we started with 60 students, so we had like a purple group and then a gold group every other Thursday, and now with the new makerspace, it's allowed us to just kind of put everybody together, because we can use a pod and then we can fabricate in the actual makerspace.
Yeah, I'd love to see when it's ready, if you share that with us, this is really cool.
Yep, we'll let you know, or Mr. McBurney, will let you know.
Thank you, students and parents.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Our next item is the overnight travel request from FCCLA.
I've made my lovely red jackets. My name is Jenny Waymeyer. I am a culinary arts instructor up at the high school, and I'm also the advisor for FCCLA Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. And we are here this evening to talk with you a little about our state conference, which is coming up April 7th through the 9th. So I'll have the students introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they're going to state for, and then a little summary of our event.
So my name is Hayden Kupue, and I'm a senior at Elkhorn High School, and I'm going to state to compete in baking and pastries. So with that, at the state event, I'll have to make a chocolate chip cookie, blueberry muffin, cream puff, and decorated cake, all within a certain amount of time, and just make it to professional standards and all that fun stuff.
My name's Jonah Waymeyer. I'm a sophomore. The event I'll be doing is knife skills and garnishes. So I get given randomly three cuts to do and 2 garnishes to do, and I have to do those in like a specific time limit. Just as close as I can to what the industry standard is.
My name is Ava Schmiden. I am a junior, and my state event is children's literature. And this is where I read to 3 different groups of kindergartners, and then I make a report on why I chose my book, why this book was important to me, and what I learned about presenting this children's book to this group of kindergartners.
And you may have remember seeing Aiden and Jonah before. We asked last year for them to go to a nationals. Can you just share a little bit about how you did at nationals?
At nationals, I got a silver medal and put 24th out of the 100 competitors from around the US. So, decent.
For my event, I did end up taking first place at nationals. It was a really fun experience.
So this year we have a bumper crop, huge group. We have about 15 students that qualified for state, and in a wide variety, of course, of subject areas I listed here. Just wide interest this year. We have a gal who's doing interior design. We of course have our culinary events, our children's events. So again, just a nice variety of students that are participating in a great assortment of events. This year we will again be at the Kalahari. I don't know if HOSA has come yet to ask for permission, but we actually are overlapping with HOSA this year. And so Ava's actually in both clubs, and so she's competing at state for both events. So she's multi-talented as well. Izzy is also one of our competitors. She's going to be doing a professional presentation. We went to nationals for a couple of years ago as well. So being at the Kalahari, we always know it's going to be expensive, but for once, the prices went down for us. So instead of paying a ridiculous amount for the suites, they've moved us into standard hotel rooms. So instead of spending $300 a night, now it's gonna be $300 for 2 nights. We're very excited about that because we will need some more rooms. We have a student who will need a care attendant, so we're gonna get her own room. But we do have $300 per room for 2 nights times 6 rooms. Of course, bus rental, as you are aware, is a large expense. So what we're going to be doing is using some of our Perkins funding to pay for our bus. We'll be using some of the CTE, the Career and Technical Education Incentive Grant, to be paying for lodging. Our club will personally pay for the food, and we're asking each of the students to pay for their registration, which will be $115. And then once we go to state, participants that get first or second place will be invited to go to nationals, and this year it's going to be in sunny Orlando in July, so nice and hot. So we're really proud of our FCCLA club this year. We have had a large number of people who have joined, great participation, and we're excited to share this opportunity with you. Do you have any questions for us?
Questions or concerns? Otherwise, entertain a motion to approve the overnight travel request.
I move to approve the overnight travel request from FCCLA as presented.
A second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. Good luck. Have
Thank you.
some fun, okay?
Thank you.
If you need probably go.
Like, I pull in and I say I was gonna bring something to eat.
Jonah, really quick though,
Go ahead.
what was the event that you placed first at national?
It was culinary a baking test, so you went there and you took like a 50 choice multiple test, and I scored the rest out of all the years.
Excellent.
All right, the next one, we have Elkhorn Area Middle School overnight travel request to Washington DC.
Hi, I am Jessica Reese. I am an 8th grade social studies teacher at the middle school. And I am Kim Heritage, an 8th grade English teacher. And although it has been, do you know how many years?
3 years.
3 years. 3 years in the past, the Elkhorn Middle School has always provided an opportunity for middle school students to go to Washington DC. The previous teacher has left the district, and there's been a little bit of a leeway in between of no one taking up the reins of the DC trip. And so Kim Heritage and I have no kids in high school anymore, so we've kind of gotten to that age where we feel we could potentially take on something additional at this point. We looked into 2 different companies. We looked into EF and we looked into World Strides. Those are probably the 2 most well-known high school, middle school traveling companies within the States. And so doing a comparison, we decided to go with World Strides. And so we are requesting an overnight. This wouldn't happen until 2026. We want to give parents an opportunity because this is funded through the parents. We can potentially do fundraising once we know who is going on the field trip. But the cost is on the board for you. It would be 3 nights and 4 full days. We're looking at the week after school lets out in June of 2026. So that's roughly June 9th through June 12th. We're still working out for sure those dates and what's going to work. The cost just for registration is $49. The cost itself, which covers pretty much from leaving the building to getting back, is $18.99. That's food, that's lodging, that's the course leader, that's the motor coach. All the time that we are there, getting into every event, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Also, I think a big point with the parents, it includes night chaperones in the hallways of the hotels, doctors. Yeah, tour guides the entire time, yeah. It is $18.99, that part is the early registration. So we are looking at right now of having a parent meeting March 12th. With this opening up for the 2026 season, we are looking at pushing this out towards the current 6th and 7th graders, which seems young. Kind of sort of maybe in some parents' minds, but they will be going into 8th grade and they will have just finished 8th grade. So that is kind of the age that will be going on. Parents are allowed to go. There is more of a fee because it's a double room instead of 4 people in 1 room. So parents will have that opportunity to potentially go on the trip if so desired. It is a 10-to-1 ratio. So for every 10 students, there is a chaperone that can oversee, and the cost is covered for the chaperone. So we think that's a good ratio. It was a better ratio than we were kind of seeing with EF. We liked having smaller numbers, especially at the middle school level and middle school age students. It might be a little bit better suited to have more chaperones if need be. So March 12th is the date that we are looking at having that initial parent meeting. We have been very busy with prepping this and getting this together. And we would also have that meeting go out. It would also be available for potential parents at the middle school showcase that will actually be going on right after that, of being able to share information with them also. The curriculum that we see in 6th and 7th grade US history is covered. So the content that is literally seen in 6th and 7th grade will completely coincide with the field trip. On top of that, one of the stops that we also is a part of this trip is the Holocaust Museum, Memorial Museum, and that Holocaust is covered in 8th grade English. So the content that actually the students will be seeing, now they can get actually real world experience with going to the Capitol, going to the Smithsonian, seeing some of the actual artifacts and the details that we talk about in class. And so we are looking to bring the Washington DC trip back to Elkhorn Middle School.
Well, thanks for volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great trip. I participated.
Yep, I chaperoned probably about 18 years ago, 19 years ago, so it's been a while.
Carter president when you were?
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's stay focused. If there aren't any other questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Just curious, real quick, do you guys talk to any of the like local representatives when you're out there? Do you see them? Do you use them as a?
This is the first time we've, so
Yeah.
don't know.
In
I
the
did it-
past, they've tried to line it up and visit the office, but
Yeah.
it's just a matter of whether
Yeah.
they're in or out.
They're there.
Yeah.
We did visit the office.
And often in the descriptions, it'll say like upon availability.
Okay,
So
sure.
if it works.
Hit or miss, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was it.
I did a trip like this a few years ago, but we went to Boston and New York. So when my daughter was in 8th grade, I went with, and it's a great experience for the kids and very scheduled.
Structured.
Sure.
And scheduled, so it's good.
This is neat.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
move to approve the overnight travel request to Washington DC as presented.
A second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is the approval of the regular and full session school board meeting from February 10th.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Corrections, comments, and there's a-
Thank you. That's Miss Holly.
That's right. If not, we can, let's go in a combined motion if you'd like.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2025 regular session and closed session school board meetings as presented.
Second, please.
Oh, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks. All right, general and other fund bills. Bill, you gotta take us away.
Yeah, the general other fund bills this evening covers checks number 154272 through 154547. Wire transfers 900 through 905 and ACH numbers 576 through 610. And the combined amount of $596,488.83. I think there was a memo providing some additional information on the bills. You would notice probably some invoices for Project Lead the Way, which were presented tonight for some of the startup on the makerspace at the middle school. And a copy of the January's treasurer's report is at the end of the bill.
Questions or concerns?
Just a question, we're paying for classes that are not offered at the regular high school from CISA 9. I was just interested what classes those might be. I mean, I don't need the total 6 or 46 classes, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, they use Wisconsin Virtual Schools based out of CISA 9, and so more often than not, they're courses where there's a conflict in the student's schedule that in order to get access to. It might be a course that we do offer face-to-face, but they can't fit it in the student's schedule. So that's how they'll resolve some of those course conflicts. So it could be, AP physics or certain English class. So that's more, those are the online classes they take in the library during that time frame. We also have, and some will do courses through options through the Apex platform, but the Wisconsin Virtual School platform has a teacher in the more typically asynchronous, or if they are asynchronous, there's a regular checking in through that teacher, but that's a wide variety of different courses to help give that flexibility. But we could probably get that.
I was just wondering if there are courses that they can take that we don't offer here.
There may be some that are included in that we don't offer, but oftentimes it's more in that vein of giving that flexibility in their scheduling.
I just knew a student that was taking Chinese a number of years ago that obviously we don't offer here.
Right. Yeah.
Just going off of that, yeah, they do offer like different languages too, like Chinese, Japanese, and like I've taken philosophy and like criminal justice classes through WBS too. So like some of those classes we don't necessarily offer at the high school, but like WBS offers like kind of like you said, the flexibility to like go further into those classes that like I couldn't take that are also like align with my career path too.
Good question. The comments? Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the general and other fund bills of February 24th, 2025. Check numbers 154272 to 154547. Wire numbers 900 to 905 and ACH numbers 576 to 610 in the combined amount of $596,488.83 as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded, the general other fund bills of February 24th, 2025. Check numbers 154272 to 154547. Wire numbers 900 to 905 and ACH numbers 576 to 610 in the combined amount of $596,488.83 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks, everybody. Our next item is resolution authorizing purchasing card agreement with Bank of Montreal BMO Bank.
Yeah, this resolution is being presented to the board. Since we're in the process of switching some banking as part of our investment group with the Wisconsin Investment Series Co-op, they're switching banks from US Bank to BMO Bank, and a number of school districts have them as a P-card system. We already have a P-card system. It's with US Bank, so we're looking at switching that over to Harris Bank just to have the same bank for all of our activities. It really was more for streamlining than anything else. All the features we have in terms of controls on our P cards are basically the same flexibilities, and the rebate program is actually a little better. So that's even a better thing. So, and they have what they call a support group. So school districts can meet and talk about how they're using the system and look at improved efficiencies.
All right, other questions or comments? Otherwise,
I'll move to approve the resolution authorizing the purchasing card agreement with the Bank of Montreal, BMO Bank, as presented.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Awesome. All right, student representative report.
Okay, at the high school, last week we just had a snowball, so there was a bunch of different things that went on Wednesday, I have a picture of like a couple hallway decorating, people with seniors and sophomores actually won, Tessa Gayhart actually organized it. And then there's just some other pictures of dress up days, and then at the assembly, the Elkhorn NCCA dance team performed, and then there's court. And then, going on with sports too, Kyron Lyle just hit 1,000 points for basketball. And then Emily Bonow is also a record breaker for basketball, in addition to that.
For 3-point shots in the season.
Yeah.
Seventh graders partnered with Culver's of Elkhorn and Elkhorn Area Middle School's National Junior Honor Society to celebrate students' completion of the winter iReady diagnostic testing. Sixth grade science in the middle, sixth grade scientists put their creativity and knowledge to the test. They designed incredible renewable energy projects for the Energy Expo. And then on the right, the picnic table project in 2024 was such a success that now they're offering it for the public to purchase. It was on display at the Wausau Homes booth at the Maker Fest, and it can be purchased online on Class Meeting. Jackson, big congratulations to the 5 spelling bee winners from each class. They'll be competing again on the 28th. That's the 4th graders. And then in the middle, just some Valentine's Day fun. This was followed through to the snow day, great snow day. And spring picture day, that's gonna be March 3rd on Monday for Jackson.
Over at Westside, there's also some pictures of the spelling bees finalists for 3rd grade. And then they also just celebrated their 100 days of school, so they had a dress up day. And then also like a big parachute thing for gym class, and then in the top right, there's a couple picture of some gotcha winners too. And then over at Tibbetts, they also celebrated the 100 days of school. And then in the top right, I have a picture, they had like a bunch of little pictures of Mr. Frost around the school, and so they were like, can you find all 100? And then they also just celebrated Valentine's Day too.
For CCA, March 1st is the Bandorama, and then April 16th, the ACT Maple Test. And then Career and College Academy admission events are still going on. You all set up the times through online, so. And then options, the Rising Phoenix is a dual enrollment program where students can obtain an associate's degree while still in high school. It's free of cost to families, and it offers support through a success coach. Students could take online or in-school in-person classes. And then Elkworks talked with Ms. Waymeyer and why FCCL, like all those classes at the high school are offered and how they can help like with students' futures.
And then over at Parent Connections, I just have a picture of the March schedule that she has. And those other pictures are from their last story time where they constructed different houses.
Good. Thank you. All right, director's report, Taylor Brigg.
Want to thank Taylor for coming in. I know we had this on the last agenda, but
Down and out, I was down and out, very sick, so happy to be back then. So this last fall, we conducted an employee engagement survey, so we wanted to bring the results to the board and kind of review where our staff were at. So Jason, if you could just hit that next slide for me. So we partnered with a organization called Engage Rocket to conduct the survey. This just ensured that responses were truly anonymous. And keep in mind, as we look at the data and the scores, all of this data and responses were collected during the month of October last fall. All employees were asked to participate, so this does include, of course, our regularly scheduled staff, as well as our part-time staff and all of our subs in the district. It asked 13 questions and you were to give a response from strongly agree all the way to strongly disagree. So 5 different response options. And it concluded with 2 open-ended questions. So the overall engagement score was a 4.29 out of 5. Engage Rocket, using all of their data, really encourages or really hopes that employers meet a benchmark score of a 4.03. So the fact that we came in at 4.29 was really encouraging, really exciting, truly. Digging into the score though, of all that were asked to participate, how many participated, is the responses valid, reliable? And 71% of all asked participated. We hopeful for 100. It was a tall task. Landed with 71. And Engage Rocket uses that confidence level there to ensure that when we're reporting on this data, especially at this level, that's valid and reliable. So we can confirm that it is. Knowing that the overall score was 4.29, we're able to dive in, kind of drill down into some specific areas. And so these are considered drivers. They're distinct measures of how employees feel about their experience here. These drivers then create and kind of drive us to the opportunities, or kind of where should we be putting our time and energy in terms of making an impact on our culture, on employee engagement. Typically, this visual would show greens, yellows, and reds. Greens meaning we get strong responses, yellows meaning caution, that take some action in this area to impact your culture, and red being absolutely critical. Your culture needs this to be addressed. So the fact that we're seeing all greens on our driver scores here, again, was really encouraging, really, it just spoke volumes to kind of our culture within our schools. That said, there's always room for improvement. So our number one driver was pride. Our staff are really, really proud to be here. And we saw that through their scores. The 2 that we had some opportunity to dive into was just around the recognition and autonomy in the classroom. And so we just spent time with all of our school leaders diving deeper into each of these to see how they can continue to be better in their buildings, how we can continue to take staff feedback and make it a great place to work.
How was the question for recognition given to the staff? Because I think people should know what they were asked.
Yes.
It was, have you been recognized in the last 7 days? Which I think the last 7 days piece probably.
Yes,
Root
skewed the
tone
answer, definitely.
skewed that a little bit, but it is the same question. And one of the reasons why we use Engage Rocket that they use in institutions all throughout, all the other institutions have the same question. So from the comparable, it gives that sense. So that's where it was. It wasn't, do you feel like you're not recognized?
Right,
It was
and that's, I
very
wanted to
specific,
clarify
Thank you.
that they were asked that specific question.
Specific last 7 days.
Yeah. So I know people I work directly with, I made sure to recognize them. And I will share that if I haven't said how much I appreciate you in the last 7 days, it's a little bit of a joke on the 7-day piece, but we do in all seriousness, the recognition piece, that was a good reflection for us to look at. You know, what do we do? How do we recognize the staff? And we've done work in the past as well, that there are distinct generational differences and expectations related to that recognition piece as well.
Definitely.
So we need to be sensitive to that.
Definitely. The other piece of why we chose Engage Rocket was there's alternate ways that we can really dive into that engagement score. So the first one was that just general score of 4.29. The second way that we're able to view employee engagement is through the employee net promoter score. So if it was asked with just one question, and that one question was, how likely are you to recommend Elkhorn Area School District as a place to work? If someone reported an answer, it was a scale of 1 to 10. If someone reported an answer of 0 through 6, they're considered a detractor. So detractors are more likely to spread negative word of mouth. They may appear disengaged, dissatisfied. If someone reported an answer of 7 or 8, they were considered passive. So they're neutral. They are emotionally not emotional. They're just coming to work. Maybe they're not emotionally invested, but they're not totally disengaged, or vice versa. They're just kind of going through the motions coming to work every day. If someone reported an answer of 9 or 10 on this 10 scale, they're considered a promoter. They're considered loyal employees to the data who are more likely to spread positive word of mouth, and they're just considered engaged. They're champions of our district. And so with that, we had 9% of our respondents report a score or an answer of 0 through 6. We had 30% report an answer of 7 or 8. And we had 61% report a score of a 9 or a 10. So again, it just speaks volumes to our culture within our buildings. Engage Rocket uses this tool again across all of their employers, all their clients. And typically the target score to say you have a really healthy culture, you have a very positive culture is 10 to 30. We were definitely targeting 30 on that range, and our score came out to an employee net promoter score of 52. So again, very encouraging data back in this last fall, just to see how our staff responded to some change in terms of just going and starting a new school year. Diving into the 2 open-ended questions. So the first one focused on areas of fulfillment, and it specifically asked, what is one thing that excites you about your workday? We come through all of the answers, really just encouraging to read all of the responses. Again, all anonymous, but we were able to bucket into 5 areas. 1, staff reported strong collaborative relationships and a supportive environment where they feel valued. 2 and 3 are kind of combined in terms of we're all here for students. We all find joy in working with students. And whether it be on the academic side and STEM and reading were mentioned multiple times, or if it's on that personal side, either having those personal success stories with those relationships with students, or maybe it's the development of those relationships. But either way, students are at the core of why we're here. The shared sense and purpose in creating that safe, inclusive, engaging learning environment. And then staff felt really empowered by the creative freedom and the professional growth opportunities presented to them and allowed to them here in the district. The second half of the question, or the second question that was asked was, if you could wave a magic wand to change one thing to make the school district a better place to work, what would it be? Of course, number 1 answer was better pay and better benefits. But staff also then reported saying, hey, I want reduced non-teaching tasks and increased prep time just to be able to be prepared for my students and my classes. Reduced class sizes came up, updated facilities, whether it be air conditioning, technology were mentioned lots of times. And safety was also mentioned, just improved safety. Our staff appreciate the efforts that have been put into safety, and they just hope that that continues here in the workplace. Not only do staff want better financial support, but they are also looking for enhanced work-life balance that also then contributes to positive mental health. And then an area where we have spent a lot of time as an admin team is just all around that, again, that communication and recognition, because we saw this in the scores that staff are looking for stronger internal communication between departments and between administration and the team. And then, of course, just the appreciation and the recognition for all the hard work our staff would say. So that kind of rounds out the fall engagement survey. Any initial questions, comments, concerns that you have about this data?
I want to revisit, you said the participation was like 71%.
71%.
How were the surveys distributed to staff?
We did a number of email campaigns, and then every building leader took time on an in-service day and set aside time for their staff to complete at their own computer, at their mobile phone, whatever is easiest for them.
So like part of the service that it doesn't send emails to people saying, hey, take the survey.
It did too.
Take the
Yeah.
survey, take the survey, take the survey.
It does,
Does it
yeah.
go until they do it, or only a certain number of times?
It does, it'll do it until they do it or we close the window.
Okay.
But there's certain, that percentage includes all staff across the district and all departments. So there were certain segments that don't check their emails as frequently. Like we had a lower response rate amongst our custodial staff than, the teaching staff had a, much higher.
So
percentage.
what's
So-
20%? How many people are we missing to get to 90 roughly?
So about 550 were asked in total, so,
That's like 100.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
That's a lot of
people. Yeah.
I think we can, let's work on
Absolutely.
that. It'd be nice to get to 90%, because I think that's gonna give us a better feel for.
The downside of it being, this is our highest response rate we've had, and I think that automated internal pieces help. The downside of it with it being anonymous, we can't go and like round up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, but you're right.
But it's just, because where I work, same thing. You have to take this training, have to take this training.
Reminder.
You got 2 days to take this training.
Reminder. Yeah.
You're now 2 days past.
Yeah, we're not gonna stop. But no, thank you for the information. Other,
Before the, that's right, I'm sorry. For the next survey, do you have some control over what will be asked? Because that last one, I would be interested on what they mean by number 4, providing better resources. I'd like to know what that
Dive in
means.
deeper to that
Yeah.
one.
We can add, obviously, we keep the same core questions and we can see what growth or movement we have. Either in the positive direction or the negative direction, but we can add any questions, we can modify questions as well, and they'll categorize them too, but you don't want to get it too lengthy, but we can certainly add targeted
I-
questions.
It just, that's so vague, I don't know what that means.
Mhm.
And then the other question you know. You go to the doctor, you get a survey,
Mhm.
you, I just install some garage doors, I get a survey. I think it's really harsh to say someone that puts 8 out of 10 as passive. I think that's really harsh.
Yeah, and we're not, that's just what they're indicating from the data, what they've seen or their research study. I don't necessarily disagree with you. There's some people where they may just be more stringent on the,
I would
on the
put down an
evaluation.
8
but it's
a
still
lot
very
of times,
true.
and that would not mean that I am passive on that at all, that I consider 8 out of 10 a very great
Yeah.
score.
So I think that's an interesting comment because I was very impressed with knowing that 61% of our staff are promoters. And kind of using your mindset is we might even have a larger group out there that was on the fence. Between the 8 and the 9 and they went 8.
Do we have, when did we do this last spring-ish? We did almost this exact same survey. I remember that. Do we have any kind of, we did do with this.
We did
Right.
this one in the fall. Prior to that, we always did internal surveys, one that we created ourselves,
Right.
and we do that annually.
Do we have any kind of comparison of if these have gotten better, worse, different? Is there a comparison at all?
I think
Or is it
it's
completely different?
I think it was reflective of where we thought it would be in that range. I think it was confirming, but also when you do your own internal survey, you don't have the comparative data to know, well, how does this compare to other like institutions? Or, from that norm aspect, so that gives us a sense of where we're at comparatively speaking.
do you have a anticipated date when the next one will be done?
No, we need to see a speak internally kind of about timing and being strategic about making sure that we're targeting staff at a time that's gonna be.
I think
Good for them to get
makes a lot of
feedback.
sense to do it after the election. Because I think we can help utilize that to get input. So address something more related. So,
Yeah, we're looking at April, May timeframe to do one in the spring. And if there is a specific question that any of you'll want to suggest, and okay, you have, maybe just email that myself or Taylor for consideration, and we can get that incorporated so we get those specific questions answered, because it certainly doesn't hurt to add 4 or 5 more questions. I think as long as we're 20 or less questions, we're good.
awesome.
Make sure you tell Jason when it's coming out so he can compliment people.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Moody's financial report.
Each year, Moody's does an updated kind of rating report for any issues out there. Of course, we have long-term debt, so we're included in that process. So I thought it would be just worthwhile just to share with the board the report, and it's pretty concise. They used to do a lot more narrative, and now they put it more just in a table format. First of all, probably the biggest piece is our rating maintains our current rating, which is a really good rating. We're AA2. And then they do rate the school district in a number of categories, kind of the social economic, the economy piece is up on top, where they look at not only income, but property values, our enrollment, and probably the key factor to look at sometimes is just the ratios and how they've changed or if they've changed. And generally speaking, most of the factors are pretty stable. There hasn't been significant changes. So it shows 4 years of data and then compares us to other entities that are similar in terms of size that have debt issues. So we can kind of compare it to the larger group as well. You know, in terms of our cash balance, our percent in terms of fund balance is pretty steady, around that 29-30%. And that's pretty similar to other entities. Our cash isn't quite as high as some other entities, but that's really because of how our cash works here in Wisconsin when we get our tax monies and such. And then our overall debt is looking well too in terms of our debt load. Long-term liability ratio was almost 250% back in 2021. Today it's 124%, and the typical is about a little over 300%. So that you know, our current debt load, I think I shared with the board previously, our long-term debt's about $30 million, and that's the same dollar amount we had back in 2004. So as a percentage, it's actually much lower overall based on our property values. The only number that jumped up is what's called our pension trend water, and that's the Wisconsin retirement system. And that's a factor that gets rolled into what's called our district-wide financial statements as well. And it creates kind of an odd kind of factor because it looks like our balances are kind of odd between years when you have that large of a fluctuation. We have absolutely no control in that number. It gets added to those financial statements based on what we receive from the Wisconsin retirement system. Our overall fixed ratio in terms of long-term debt, again, we're below what's typical for entities our size. And I would say overall, it's a pretty stable report in terms of how we're trending as a school district. So I just thought I'd share that with the board. So this is done not for our benefit. This is done for those entities that lend us money, and they want to see what the risk tolerance is of our school district. So
Can you explain a little, and this is I know my wife was really happy about this, about the A++ rating and a couple of the key factors associated with that, why we're so highly rated?
They look at a number of factors. They look at our cash flow in terms of our operating balance, our stability as a school district, our property values, and the amount of long-term debt we have. I mean, those are the biggest factors. I've always asked Moody's, what would we need to do to even get us to like a AA1 rated? And they kind of have jokes that, well, you probably have to have maybe 2 Amazon distribution centers open up in your school district. What they're telling us is basically our property values are good, but they're not to the level that would produce that kind of level. The other thing they look at is really stability within the school district and stability in leadership. They can factor that in much higher than they used to years ago because they see that as an important factor. So does that kind of answer?
Sure does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other one, Bill, it might be good to explain because I've seen some misunderstanding in regards to fund balance, what it is, how it works within a school district. I think there's an impression out there that, you know, when they say that, oh, we have a 29.7% available fund balance, that we're sitting on a, you know, account in the bank that has 29% of our operating funds sitting in there all the time. Could you explain how that works?
It's really a balance sheet calculation, so it looks at our assets minus liabilities and the balance is equity or is fund balance. So for school districts, a lot of what we have in assets are receivables. We don't have that in cash. So like our tax monies and such come in much later, but we book them as receivables on our balance sheet. But in terms of actual cash, the cash amount is much lower than those percentages, so.
And what level do we need to have our fund balance at roughly in order to not have to borrow to have the money in the bank to make payroll?
You're probably around the 20% range, 18 to 20%.
Because we receive those payments from the state at different time periods, the checking account balance, for lack of a better term, will dip. I think our lowest time is usually December, is that right?
December, yeah, into November, early December. Because at the beginning of the year, we really don't see any monies come in until the tax monies come in. We see some state aids, but our tax monies, the first monies that come in are in January. And then we get another deposit in February, and then the county process what's called our final balance in August. So that's when the tax monies come. And state aids would be great if they came like every month. But most of the state dollars we get is the third Monday in June. So by then our school year is pretty much over with.
Yeah. And districts brought up with the states, school superintendents and leaders, that one of the solutions on our school funding would be if you made those payments earlier, then a lot of districts wouldn't have to cash flow borrow. Get loans to make payroll. The problem is then the state would have to cash flow borrow. So they said, then you have to give you less because we would have to borrow. So they have to sit on the money until they have it to send to the school districts. Yeah, all right.
But in layman's terms, we're not sitting in a pile of money in a bank account that we have
Correct.
just sitting.
Correct. I mean, the available cash we have, we do invest that when we can. But like any local government, you're pretty restricted in terms of what you can do with that, and it's really US securities pretty much.
Any other questions?
Oh, come on.
That's still recorded online, right?
It is.
Okay, good. I'm gonna reference that entire report over and over again.
No, it is it's one of the best bond ratings in the state. Was it? We're in the top 50, Bill, or I don't recall it.
Yeah, last time I saw, we probably were in terms of the rating. And what's nice is this kind of financial information isn't something we produce, it's a separate organization that does it, so they're independent and no vested interest. Other than to be objective in terms of their analysis.
Tanya was blown away after you guys talked about that. She said, I can't believe how good of a rating. Yeah.
All right, we'll go on to the referendum update.
We wanted to share, and this will be open to the board to share anything you'd like about the meetings. Just a reminder that the community forums, our next one is coming up Wednesday. And that will be held at the Chamber of Commerce. They're informal meetings, coming with the school board members, get any questions that you'd like. I know you'll have some, fact sheets, be able to fill any Q&A. I have down that Kyle, Adam, Ed, and Julia will be available at that one at the chamber office, or Uncle Hunt's jump in the building with the mural right here by the district office. We did have the coffee chat on 22nd that Mr. Gatton referred to in the public comment, but we have a number of dates that are scheduled, and also would put out there that I know either Bill or myself or both of us were happy to go and meet with any organization that would like us to come and present, and or I know board members are as well, but we really create a lot of availability there. Anything school board members you'd like to add to this or share related to these dates?
I got the flyer today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a couple of items we wanted to share. I'm gonna go to number 1 first. Bill I'll turn this over to Bill to go ahead and share this chart.
Yeah, it's a chart I pulled together off, Baird does an analytical tool where you can pull information, in a chart format that their source of data is financial information that's available at the Department of Public Instruction. And I thought this was kind of interesting because it shows the per pupil revenue cap for every school district in Walworth County. So there's 15 school districts in Walworth County. Now, this is the revenue cap number. It isn't cost per student. We're talking different things. You mentioned cost per student, although they're kind of related, because cost per student would look at total expenditures and divided by number of students, which would include open enrollment as well. But you can kind of see how varied just in our county this revenue cap number is. And there's a number of reasons for that. Some of it might be history on what they had spent years ago, and when revenue caps came in place in the 90s, it kind of locked in that formula. Some of the districts have had operational referendums. And as a result of that, that moved up their per pupil significantly. So you can kind of see, I mean, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. A number of these districts are small districts. They're K-8 school districts. Several of them may have only 100 students. But again, you can kind of see how those numbers can change, and this would probably be reflective of the state of Wisconsin. And I think probably most people don't realize how varied that is. And I think with our current environment, with operational referendums, those that are successful and those that aren't successful, that variance could potentially get even larger. So anyway, it's just data.
Well, this is important data. It's just showing fiscally conservative.
It is, I think one of the other points, and I've seen discussions online related to it, is a desire for the state to fix the funding formula, the system, and that it shouldn't have to go to the local via referendum, which I'm the first man. I hate, the amount of time, the work, the effort, the divisiveness that comes whenever you go to a referendum, especially an operational referendum. And I'd be the first to say I would love it if that were the case. But as we look across this chart, I believe all of these, perhaps with the exception of Bigfoot Union High School, I believe all of them have a current operational referendum of some type in place, of significance and that's part of the reason why you see the differential. The reason I bring it up is all throughout the state, I believe it's well over over 300 districts now that have operational referendums in place. So what you hear from the state representatives when they say this is not something we can fix from the state, they're dealing with over 3/4 of the districts in the state of Wisconsin have already increased their revenue limits via local referendum to address the funding gap issues. When a district does a operational referendum, the state still has to obligate and cover whatever dollar amount they're aided. So for us, we're around 40 to 45% aided. So if we increase our revenue limit by, $4 million, in theory, that 45% we're going to receive aid from the state for. So as the state, and that's part of why they can say, well, we've increased our spending on education at significant levels. A lot of it is because of the state aid that they've paid towards the referendums that have been passed. Based on whatever that district's dollar amount is. And so it really is true in the sense that if we wait around for a state solution, they're stuck in this quandary of this local referendum scenario, where in reality it would be very challenging for them to come up with a funding formula that would only address those districts that haven't done operational referendums to fix the gap. And not also give additional dollars to all these other districts who just passed significant referendums In some cases, getting close to $30,000 per pupil. And so that's where like the state legislature is like, well, I don't wanna, increase the revenue limit for this district that just passed a $12,000 per pupil referendum. Cause they don't need that. So that's part of the quandary from the state, and it really pushes it back to a local issue and scenario. Or local control over being able to make that decision either way. Any questions on that chart or those revenue limits? It does give context. Another one that came out, I thought it would be good to go ahead and share this because I saw this was a common question, and Mr. Andre had shared this and had asked some questions. Hey, what's the calculator? What's it looking at? So we pulled this up, and this was created by Will in relation to what the potential impact would be on repealing Act 10. When Act 10 came into place in 2009, it eliminated the teachers union's right to collectively bargain certain areas. For example, the WRS contribution was mandated by law that instead of districts covering the employee share and the employer share, that it would only cover the employer share. And things like health insurance could no longer be collectively bargained. And if there was a union in place, which Elkhorn no longer has a bargaining organization, there are teachers who are part of the union at the state level or national level, but they're not a bargaining organization. But it capped what those bargaining organizations could collectively bargain for, and it allowed the district to just implement or put in place, their best offer, which was different from collective bargaining prior. So what they did is they went through and right on the site, it speaks to the methodology. If you go down, you can click on this. I'll start there. But what they did is they went back and they looked at what was the average fringe benefit for a particular position and what is it now? What was the salary and then what is it now? And they looked at that differential as compared to inflation and CPI, and had they kept funding, assuming that the districts had to keep up the compensation and the benefits and the salary areas from 2009 to this point. We know from, the referendum in the fall and on our website, we shared a chart that the state funding or school funding just for our district, the gap between inflation and what we receive is approximately $12 million a year, is what we estimated. So in order to have balanced budgets like we've been in the black every single year since Bill's been in the district. And up to this point where this year we're sure we'll be in the red. We've had to take measures and leverage the tools, which means changing our health insurance, changing our compensation structure to a level to where we could balance the budget. So keeping that in mind, if you go back to their calculator, really it's a calculator to how much a particular district has done to control or reduce costs over from 2009 to this point. And looking at it through that lens, you can look at different districts and see what that differential is between what Will estimates the staff would have been compensated or those costs had Act 10 not been in place. So when you go down and look at Elkhorn, that differential is, they're estimating to be 1,668 is the differential in that tax component. Now, there's a lot of other factors there. I don't believe this doesn't factor in any state aid. Bill kind of did a rough estimate on this. That would come out to about $20 million more a year. Is that accurate?
That's correct. If you
Yeah.
think of our overall levy is this year is $22 million. So if you work this number backwards in terms of the mill rate based on a $300,000 value, you would get to, I think, $19.8 million would be the amount necessary based on their calculation to keep pace with the inflation since 2009 to 24.
I think it's that number, that dollar amount puts us just outside of the top 10 districts in the entire state. I believe number 10 was around $17,030 or something. So it's one of the highest numbers in the state. If you want, just as an example, is there another district you want me to pull up and see what that number would be? Delavan? So they're about 612. Is that differential? I saw one poster had mentioned, well, and it asked the question, why was Lake Geneva's where it was? And that was $6.50. So again, that's their formula, their estimate that they put out there. I think looking at it through the lens, it does show how much the district has done to control costs or put those pieces in place. It paints it in a picture that, hey, you should be really worried if it is repealed, because they kind of paint a picture that, well, because that'll go on your taxes. The reality is that's not going to happen. They even put it in their note that no, Wisconsin has revenue limits for public schools that might make many of these increases impossible. An end of Act 10 would require the legislator to lift the caps for the state to spend more money or for districts to make drastic cuts to make up for lost revenue. I don't see the state saying, okay, Elkhorn, you can raise your cap, your revenue limit enough to cover $20 million. We don't know what's going to happen with Act 10. We don't know if it's repealed, if they're going to say, well, you owe people retroactively what they would have been compensated. I think that's a pretty impossible scenario that they could do when since 2009, the state hasn't even come close to funding schools near CPI. And that's why a district like Elkhorn has a $1,600 differential, because we haven't gotten funding close to CPI. We haven't been able to keep our salary and benefits close to that cost over the years. We've had to take measures to reduce and contract in those areas. So questions on the tool there? I think it's useful to go and look at. If you dig into the methodology and look at it, they have all those explanations in there. I don't know how, accurate, like we said, we think our estimate's quite a bit higher than what we would put on that, but.
So if I'm looking at this correctly in very simple layman's terms of the way I like it. This is showing that since Act 10, because we have been so historically fiscally conservative, Act 10 gets repealed, we're gonna owe all this money because we've been very good at about balancing our books. Is that a fair way to say that?
I think they're trying to allude to that, that's a potential scenario that if in a repealing of Act 10, the state or the ruling was that these districts owe those employees that much higher salary and that much higher benefits because taking away the collective bargaining rights or whatever was unlawful, and you need to do that retroactively.
I think another, and I'm certainly no legal expert, but I think the rationale behind the court cases is that Act 10 was not uniformly applied to all public sectors. So you have, for example, like law enforcement was not included in that. So that's their argument through the litigation, is that it didn't apply to all public sector employers. So I don't know if a potential fix would simply be to include all public employers. But that's a legal question.
Yeah.
But I would say, as some had presented it, hey, be careful about voting for a referendum because you might have this tax bill come on your docket on top of the referendum. That the state would have to lift revenue caps and would have to grant an authority of Elkhorn to do that. I don't see any scenario in which the state's going to approve that. There could be a scenario where we're faced with significant financial shortfalls and have to make staffing decisions if they decide that, yeah, you have to go back and address things from a financial standpoint, but that's where I don't think. I don't see that as a likely scenario. But I definitely don't see the state authorizing districts to just increase their levies to cover and make a difference. I could see them saying, that's an end of that. You know, practically you have to reinstate collective bargaining and allow that if it's refilled from this point forward, but I don't know. I guess. We'll have to wait and see on that. Any other questions related to it or? Brought it up at this point just because I think it does have implications and in the format in which people were communicating. So I appreciate people bringing it forward, and if there are ever any other questions related to that, we're happy to build that and do the best we can. If we don't have the answer, get the answer.
All right, on the personnel.
We have a transfer of Angela Salmoni to work in that Edge coordinator and school to work apprenticeship coordinator. She's not going to be teaching social studies options, is going to be 100% of the time at CCA. She was kind of doing a split between the two there, as we knew this would happen as the numbers were rolling up and adding more students to that Edge program. Resignation of Maria Huerta, Jackson Custodian, and Luke Talry as a girls soccer assistant coach.
If there's no questions, entertain a motion to approve the personnel recommendation sheet.
I move to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for February 24th, 2025, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and the district mandated drug screening as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, let's go on to school gifts.
All right, we have a couple of school gifts to present this evening. Kevin Monty has donated $1,000 to Tibbetts Elementary to be used at the discretion of Mr. Frost. And the Tibbetts Elementary PTA has donated $875 to the Tibbetts Music Department.
Awesome. Like a motion to accept the generous school gifts.
I move to accept the generous school gifts as presented.
A second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. All right. And then we've got the first reading.
Second reading.
Second reading.
I didn't receive any further comments related to 872, so it's ready for final approval.
I move to approve the revised policy 872, public complaints about school personnel as presented.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, announcements.
Hey, we've got a policy committee meeting scheduled for Thursday, February 27th at 11 o'clock a.m. And then the March 24th board meeting falls on the Monday of spring break. So we just wanted to check and make sure that we had enough for a quorum on that date. So anyone not going to be here?
I could be there.
I will not.
It doesn't matter.
But you said you can, okay, yeah. Mr. Andre gone, all right. I think Julie and Kathy should be good to go. Students, you're more than welcome if you're off.
Absolutely.
You guys get to hang in town like I do?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Well, just keep me posted. All right, thank you.
All right, we need a motion to adjourn into closed session.
I move to adjourn to contemplate a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 para 1 E to discuss the proposed transportation contract from Durham School Services. The school board will not reconvene in open session.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome, thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.